indigenous Tainos grew, they learned how to swim. And swimming was super important. Everybody knew how to swim. And it was something that was very impressive. Even when the Spanish came over, they kidnapped many of the young indigenous people. And in one occasion, one of them, well, it was a group of women, they took them. And the group of women, through signs, had them like turn around. And once they were close enough to Borique or to Puerto Rico, they jumped off the ship and swam. So we know that the teenagers were very good swimmers. They were adept at this because this was part of their culture. However, of the people that I looked through, that I read, none of them absorbed any rites of passage. You know that many cultures, even nowadays, when a girl turns 15, le tiran una quinceañera. We don't have any record that they ever did anything like this. And some say that it's because their culture was destroyed so quickly. However, the big massacre that happened with the Tainos, caciques and cacicas, and caciques was the term that they used for their chiefs. This didn't happen until almost 10 years later. And during that time, Fray Ramon Pané had lived among them for several years. And so I'm going to give my opinion. I'm going to give my opinion on this. I feel that they probably didn't have anything like that. Only because, and this is the only reason I think this, is because I've lived among other cultures before. I lived in Guatemala for a while. And I was able to observe so many of their traditions and cultures just by being there for a couple of months. So if this person is there, I'm thinking about them, the Taínos, who were so connected to their environment. You're going to tell me you're not going to see nothing? So I honestly think that they probably didn't have anything like that, because we know that they had so many different other customs. Why would the rites of passage not be noted? So besides that, we know that they valued certain skills that we value today. For example, the development of creative skills. So we know that if they saw that a young one had a great ability of storytelling or song, they were encouraged to develop those talents, and they would lead, for example, areito ceremonies, and I'll explain later what areitos are, but they were very important to them. And basically you were a superstar if you sang at an areito. Or better said, if you had the lead, because everybody sang, but if you had the lead. So if a girl was adept at healing and herbs, she could maybe be a priestess of one of the gods. If the boy could, again, swim like a fish, hunt skillfully, he was great at building bohíos, or their homes. That was the name that was used to describe their homes. Or archery. Girls also practice archery. They would then be trained by an older person in the village more seriously to help them develop those skills. So now let's say that you're a young girl, you've grown up, and they've noticed that you have a certain skill in pottery making. So women were the only ones in the tribes, or in, I'm going to say clan, that were allowed to make pottery. So everything you see in terms of Taino art in pottery is the reflection of feminine artistic expression. And as you see here, all of these are women. They're all doing different parts of the pottery process. They're making different types of pottery used for cooking, used for transporting water. And this was a daily task. They also made baskets